Welcome to episode 45 of the Career Breakthrough Series. I'm your host, Paul Ames. And if you haven't already, please don't forget to support my show and my podcast by subscribing, rating and reviewing my show. If you're on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe by hitting the bottom right button now. Or if you're on iTunes or Spotify or Stitcher, please don't forget to subscribe, then rate and review. Leave us some comments or some feedback about our show and who you'd like to really see on the show. So, getting into today's episode, I'm so excited and it was such an amazing interview. I had an interview with Rania Hoteit, who is the CEO of ID4A Technologies, which has recently been named the best entrepreneurial company in America by Entrepreneur Magazine's Entrepreneur 360 list, which is the most comprehensive analysis of private companies in America. As well as this incredible feat, Rania has had multiple awards and recognitions from the White House and been asked alongside 55 other global leaders to speak at the Global People's Summit, which is organised by the UN. As well as that incredible feat and the incredible work Rania has done, she's also been recognised alongside Melinda Gates for having such an innovative and impactful business that really makes an impact and difference to the world. This is such a great interview and I love the amazing takeaways that Rania shared. She also delved into her career, her upbringing, and some of the biggest difficulties she's had to overcome in her personal life and as an entrepreneur. It's a very powerful interview with some great takeaways. So without further ado, let's get started into the interview. I'll see you on the inside. Guys, welcome to another episode of the Career Breakthrough Series. I'm your host, Paul Ames. And on the show today, I've got such an inspiring guest, someone who really motivates and inspires me and really helps to push everyone along in their journey. I'm talking about none other than Rania Hoteit. So Rania is the CEO of ID4A Technologies, which has recently been named the best entrepreneurial company by Entrepreneur Magazine under her leadership. She is an award-winning serial entrepreneur, sought-after judge on startup competitions, an international public speaker, advisor, writer, and social impact leader in gender equality, women's empowerment, education, and industry innovation, with multiple recognitions from the White House. How incredible is that? So Rania has also been featured alongside 55 other incredible global speakers at the United Nations Global People's Summit during the UN General Assembly, where she discussed the global production and manufacturing pipeline and how automation, AI, and robotics can also reduce the global exploitation and labour. She's also been featured in many publications like Huffington Post, Forbes, and Entrepreneur. Recently, Rania has also been featured alongside incredible people like Melinda Gates and Sheryl Sandberg and recognised as one of the biggest world women's leaders who have successfully built outstanding brands. So Rania, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show. It's an absolute pleasure. It's incredible the stuff that you've done and you should be so proud of yourself for the amazing achievements you've created.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Paul, and it's my pleasure to be with you today. I'm very excited about starting this conversation with you.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'm excited for you to be here. So, Rania, if you could just give us a bit of an understanding into what are some of the biggest positive experiences that you had growing up, or the big positive influences you had on your career growing up, and what really helped shape the path from where you're currently on now?
You know, there were many negative and positive influences that shaped my life and helped me to become the person that I am today and build the career that I have and the life that I live. I grew up in an extremely unusual context and difficult circumstances that in many ways had tremendous positive impact on me, if you will. My childhood was growing up in Beirut, Lebanon during the Lebanese Civil War in the late 80s. So our home was bombed several times. Our lives were under constant threat. So we had to flee from one city to another and then from one country to another. And during that period of time, my family and I experienced tremendous physical, emotional, and economic hardships until the war officially ended. And at the age of 18, my entire life had split. My family, my parents decided to get divorced after many years of struggles and conflicts. And I decided to separate from my family. So I boarded the plane with only $1,000 in my pocket, and I moved to the United States alone to go to college. I knew I'm not going to have any further financial backing because of my parents' separation. So yeah, I had absolutely no idea how I will survive and continue my education, which leads to a whole other chapter of the story that I won't get into at the moment. But growing up with these experiences and being exposed to adversity at a very young age had a tremendous impact on my resilience and many skills that I learned as I was growing up. I learned courage because we were facing a lot of close proximity to death and constant movement and search for safety. I learned to adapt in constant change. I learned to be strong and self-reliant because there was so much instability and loss along the way. I also learned determination and persistence because there was so much doubt and uncertainty as well. But having that genuine desire for success was always the main drive behind achieving what I want in my career and in my life, despite all the negative experiences and all the adversities that I had to navigate through to get to where I am now. But also on the positive end, speaking of growing up, also being a child that was growing up in a multicultural, multilingual environment had many beautiful positive influences as well. That were very advantageous to my life and the development of my career later on, because that gave me the ability to alter perspectives and consider alternative ways of thinking. Speaking more than one language allowed me to also have broader skills in communication and interaction and understanding rituals and social cues and triggers, which increased my openness to new ideas and gave me also a more of a multifaceted problem-solving capability. So all that was quite fascinating as well, and it's been a magical key for building a globally operating business for me.
Definitely.
So,
wow. Thank you so much for sharing that, Rania. I can't even imagine the difficulties you've gone through all of that, but I really appreciate you sharing that. And, you're an amazing person to be able to come through that all by yourself. I think I'd just be completely overwhelmed and I wouldn't even know what to do with myself if I left with $1,000 and that's it. So yeah, hats off to you. That's incredible.
We'll talk about what happened after that, maybe on another call or another interview, because it's a long story.
Definitely. I'd love to hear about that. So Rania, obviously coming and starting in any country with $1,000 in your pocket. So talk us through some of the previous careers that you've done that have led you up to where you are currently. And what do you think some of the biggest takeaways from those careers you've previously done are?
I started working at the age of 15 or 16 was my first job. So I've been working for quite some time, and I had so many different jobs and careers, and until I started my entrepreneurial journey in 2007. But my first job was a salesperson, and I was going from door to door selling home accessories and kitchen equipment for people behind my parents' back. I wanted to make my own money, and I would sneak out after finishing school in the afternoon to do that. And that was quite an interesting experience, because I learned how to face a lot of fears, and I learned how to interact with people better and start to develop my persuasion skills and my sales skills, as well as dealing with a lot of rejection and a lot of judgment, because I was this kid that looked a little bit older than her age, but at the same time I was still a teenager.
Yep.
So that was quite an interesting experience. And then my second job, I've been a hostess in restaurants. I've been a waitress. I've worked in managing stores, and I've done so much, so it's really hard to go through it all. But I think one of the major turns in my career is when I was going through school, and I was also trying to build my first company. And in 2007, while I was still a student, I had built tremendous experience on how products and parts get manufactured for real world applications by working with many major companies in automotive and aerospace and electronics and architecture and other industries that are involved in manufacturing. And during that same period, I decided that I want to become an entrepreneur as well. So I learned a lot from co-founding 2 companies and exiting prior to founding my current company, ID4A. So in addition to what I learned from my educational training in engineering and design and production, that really added a lot to my experience. And I learned so much about business while being in school studying something else. I was going to school to study engineering and design and architecture. Oh, wow. And that was my educational training. And I was trying to build a business from scratch with no business skills whatsoever. Wow. But I had realized that I had learned so many business skills just from working from a very young age and doing a lot of interactions with people, and using my social and sales skills from a very young age were very helpful for me later. Definitely. But I also used the time to learn so much on my own because I had no guidance and no financial backing for all this time. So I used my time at school also to build something for myself and to learn as much as I can on my own, so I could move into the future with more security and stability and certainty, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, what a journey. That's amazing. And I remember hearing somewhere that was one of the biggest things, one of the top entrepreneurs in the world, I think it was the speech he was doing, was saying that everybody should go and start a sales career or just do a brief sales stint, and just to get these amazing skills and confidence in communicating with people, building rapport with people, all these skills that are going to translate into your business. So yeah, I think that's amazing that you shared that. That's definitely some incredible skill sets you would have built up there.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you very much about people skills, because business is dependent on relationships, all types of relationships with all kinds of people.
Definitely.
So it's really an important skill to be able to develop, and communication becomes at the top of that. If you're not able to communicate your ideas really well and to motivate and inspire people to believe in your vision and to believe in what you're trying to sell and put out in the world, is very hard to get people on your side. And that's key for the success in any business.
Definitely. So just leading on from that, Rania, I think that's, I've been very similar with you, having a wide range of careers until my entrepreneurial switch flicked in my head, and, something just went, I need to do something for myself. This is what I really want to do. So I can completely relate to you. I just wanted to move on from that into how you, what was the big spark and big idea that really launched into ID4A?
I think the biggest motivation behind ID4A was my personal interest in bridging business with design and technology innovation, and also humanities and what design brings into the table through understanding of people and the needs of consumers as well. So it was about combining that. And I also have a very multi-faceted and multidisciplinary background. So it was also an opportunity for me to bridge together all my different areas of expertise and skills between engineering and design, and understanding the production pipelines and manufacturing workflows to bring together a fully operational business that can add value to customers in our industry.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. Your business sounds so amazing, being able to combine these two elements and make such an innovative and standout business that really is impacting the world. So yeah, that's amazing, Rania.
Thank you.
So Rania, I'd love to know, I know you shared roughly on some of the biggest roadblocks you went through, obviously going through the Civil War and the tough times of being bombed and things like that. But what would be some of the biggest mental roadblocks you've had to overcome in your life, whether that be in your business or in your personal life? And how do you feel that you successfully overcome them?
I think that the biggest mental block that I faced throughout was to create certainty amid uncertainty. That was very important to me because I came from a very unstable life and came into an even more unstable life because I still had no certainty and I had no security, and I was building that for myself as I go. So it was a big mental block for me to become comfortable with uncertainty and try to create certainty for myself despite the absence of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because uncertainty was a major cause of anxiety for me, because I have no support and I needed to figure things for myself.
Exactly.
And it was a block that I knew I was set to overcome, and I knew that I had to do that. And I knew that if I wanted absolute certainty, and I want to know exactly what's going to happen, then I have no choice but to make it happen myself. And if I don't know how to make it happen, then I will find a way. Eventually, I began to build momentum and in the direction of getting more results. I think that creating certainty begins first with that mindset shift into having a strong belief in the potential of what you are trying to create. And when you start to have a strong belief in the potential of what you're trying to create, you are more likely to begin to take massive action to get the results that you will in return, that will in return reinforce your belief, and you can continue to build a momentum from there. So that was really the positive effect of overcoming that, because I knew that I needed to achieve my goals, and in order to do that, I needed to build a momentum that keeps strengthening my belief and the potential that I can build and create, and continue building on that. And then you start to see you're getting more results, and then you're getting more results, and the more you trust in your own process, the more you can actually prove that to yourself that you are capable of doing it. So it's an interesting that we're talking about this now, but now that I'm thinking about it in my head, the process is really robust. It's like working out every single day in order to compete at this like major competition or something. So it takes a lot of persistence and consistency as well in order to build that momentum for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's great advice. I think everyone should go back and have a listen to that. It's so true. It's, especially like I couldn't imagine you've thrown yourself completely out of your comfort zone. So you have to make it work. I think that's the thing that, a lot of people don't do nowadays is they really don't stretch themselves far enough and have such firm belief in what they're doing or their big vision. Like you said, with that knowingness in yourself that you're going to achieve what you're going to achieve and reach these high goals. You're going to make it if you've got that persistence and drive. And I always find that with like people with my career counseling as well, is where if people don't have a strong enough reason why or what's driving them along, they're going to reach a tough point. Like for me, I see a lot of people come to their career and go, I want to make this much money in my career. I said, that's great. Obviously everyone needs to make money, but there has to be another factor that wants to push you and drive you. Because, if you're going to only go for money, you're going to reach a block and go, it's just too hard, I give up.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with what you just mentioned. And definitely it's that there's always a misconception around money. You have to appreciate money because it's energy that we need to have and exchange in order to survive. Definitely. For sure. So the appreciation for money needs to be there. Otherwise you cannot build success for yourself. Exactly. But it cannot be the main driver. You will never succeed either, because you need that purpose. You need that strong belief and that strong why you're doing what you're doing, so you can continue moving in that direction. So yes, very well said what you mentioned, and I agree.
Thank you. Rania, so just leading on from that, I know you've shared some incredible resilience and some of the biggest traits and habits that you've got that have really helped you achieve success in your life. But what do you feel to be some of the other biggest positive habits or traits that you've got that have helped you achieve success? And on the flip side to that, what do you think would be one of the most hindering habits or traits that have potentially stopped you from reaching that next level of where you want to get to?
First of all, I personally don't believe that there is one particular habit that can solely contribute to success, because a lot of people also have this misconception, like if I'm very good at this, then I will be able to do so much. It's always about consciously orchestrating a set of different habits and traits and constantly evolving and enhancing and developing them in order to achieve real success. Yeah. If I was to choose one that I strongly believe in, is curiosity, constant learning, and forward thinking. This is the higher level that I operate from personally, especially being a cross-disciplinary innovation leader. With the work that I do, we are designing products, we're integrating and building different technologies, we're faced with complex problems to solve and open-ended questions to find definite practical answers for. So it's very critical to stay ahead and to maintain constant and ongoing innovation. And this is why I need to be in exploration mode myself, and to stay on the lookout for new ideas that can drive innovation.
Yeah,
and it's something that I work actively on activating. I work actively on cultivating the skill, not just for myself, but also at an organizational level, where I could spark creativity and help my team to generate new ideas as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of, you mentioned also what's something that that's not productive or something I'm battling with. Speaking of, being a problem solver and a forward thinker, the one habit that I'm in constant battle with is overthinking. It just comes with the territory. There's that threshold where this hyper mental activation and stimulation and agility crosses into an overdose that can be unproductive, because it causes imbalances in other areas of your life when you start suffering from insomnia and anxiety. So that's something I'm always working on managing and keeping in check. So
that's perfect. Thank you for those answers. They were great. I loved your first answer. I think that was great, that it's not just the one trait. Like, I guess a lot of people think, it's this one thing that really helps you achieve success, when it's not. It's a combination or a cultivation of all of these refined skills and traits and attributes over time. And it kind of reminds me back to how you were saying about the person trying to compete to be, the Olympic competitor or something like that, or even trying to build something. You've got to have all of these different things come together to create this amazing result. So that's great. I love that, Rania. Well, I know this is a bit of a different question, but this is something I like to ask my guests as well. So what do you feel is the core of a happy, fulfilled life for you, both at home and at work?
It's a great question. I at the core of feeling fulfilled, I think, is living with three things: vision, purpose, and integrity. For me, I am fully committed to my vision, and I try to create certainty within myself to achieve my goals, despite, as we talked about earlier, despite the tremendous amount of risks and high level of uncertainties that I have to deal with on a daily basis, especially being an entrepreneur. I also hold very high standards for myself and for those around me, and I stay mindful to stay in my integrity and ensure that everything that I do is a direct reflection of my authentic identity fully, whether that is my talents, competencies, values, principles, or interests in life. I personally also don't believe in life-work separation. I believe in integration and balance.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's something that I actively aim to achieve in all areas of my life. And you mentioned the word happy. I think that happiness is a negotiable term, but I can tell you that at the core of an unhappy, unfulfilled life is having serious divisions and misalignments between who you are, what you stand for, what you're passionate about, what you do, and who you surround yourself with, which, when you have these divisions and you're not fully aligned, it only signifies that, first of all, you're lacking integrity with yourself and with others. And as a result, you will never, you're not really fulfilling your life's purpose either. I think that there is nothing more threatening to your individual happiness and fulfillment than your separation with yourself. And that's something that, I'm very aware of. And that's my take on this.
Yeah, definitely. That's really powerful. I love that you shared that about work-life balance as well, because I actually don't believe in work-life balance. It's something that's thrown around a lot, especially in my industry. And I'm exactly the same as you, where I think that, that it's an integration. You can't have this separation between them both. You've got to have them integrated. And it's all about finding and sharing your time. Like, the biggest thing that comes out for me is where you hear the thing, everyone's got the same 24 hours in the day. It's what we choose to prioritize our time on is what really matters to us in life. So put your time into the things that really matter to you in life, and that's how you achieve that so-called balance. So that's what I believe about it as well.
Absolutely. And you also have to be surrounded by people who believe what you believe and would be there to inspire you and support you, and vice versa. I meet a lot of people that when we speak about their personal life and their business or their work that they're doing, they always say things like, oh, I do my own thing and my partner does their own thing. And then I ask them, so what do you do together? What's the common theme? Why are you together?
Yeah.
And then you see them questioning their decisions. I'm not sure I'm with the right partner. I'm not sure I'm in the right job. I'm not sure. There's always this questioning that also it signifies more and more of that division within the self that's not being fulfilled and that's not being satisfied, because you're not living with integrity and purpose.
Yeah, so true. So well said. I think that's, you see that time and time again. It's so true. I think that's, something a lot of people need to work on, really. But Rania, I know ID4A does some incredible things, or you've done some amazing things, and I saw you do have a new product eventually coming out soon. But what are some of the biggest things that you're really excited about heading into the future with ID4A?
Well, I am at a major new turn that I'm super excited about right now. We are currently making major organizational changes within the company. We have new large investments coming on board that are going to be transformative for the business, and as a result, it's going to be transformative for my life as well. So unfortunately, I can't share much details beyond that right now, because we are in the middle of a process that began very recently, and it's just a sensitive time for us at the moment. But I will keep you updated where this is going.
Definitely.
I'm planning many new initiatives for 2018 and 2019 as well, beyond expanding my business and entrepreneurial reach, including launching a new organization. I'm writing a new book.
Oh, wow.
And I'm also expanding my social impact work into new territories around the globe that I have not explored yet previously. So there's a lot of things going on that are really exciting right now, but I'm trying to manage things in a way where I try to keep myself in balance to handle things equally with the attention that they need without unnecessary failures in the process.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, how exciting. I can't wait to hear all of that about that. And to hear about your amazing book that's going to be coming out. That'll be incredible.
Thank you so much.
So Rania, I'd love to know, what would be 3 to 5 actionable tips that you feel have really helped you out in your career or in your business that could really help my audience out? So, whether that be anything that you've learned from your career or any of your business tips or advice that you feel that you've really had to push through and that have really made an impact in your life.
Sure. There are a few tips that I can actually share with our audience today. I think the first one that I want to start with, because I think it's at the core of how we do everything in life, is first to manage your state, whether that is your physiological and emotional state, how you feel on the inside. If you are in an empowered state or a disempowered emotional state, all of that really affects how you move in life, and and it definitely hinders you from achieving success if you are not in an empowered state of certainty and confidence and clarity and courage and conviction and passion. So you want to be able to manage your state and spend your time working on putting yourself in an empowered state so you could reach your goal with your career and with your business. The second one is setting your goals right above your comfort zone. And I think that's very important, because setting impotent goals is very destructive. We see this time and time where people just set a goal that they can easily achieve, and then they start to have these daily averages and mediocrity in their life, and they never move beyond that point. So it's very important to set goals just above your comfort zone, so you could be inspired to move yourself to a higher level of achievements in your life.
Yeah.
The third one I want to talk about is fear and overcoming fear, which is something that we all kind of struggled with, especially being at a place where you're making major strands in your life and you're taking major risks, I think it's very important to act in spite of fear.
Yep.
Being scared to fail is really destructive to your process of evolution, whether that is you're trying to achieve more in your career and reaching higher positions within a company you work for, or if you're an entrepreneur and trying to achieve higher goals with your own company and your own ventures. So it's very important to act despite fear and embrace it as a motivation for you that moves you towards what you want. Trying to overcome limiting beliefs. We talked a little bit about how to create certainty despite the uncertainties. And also we talked a little bit about money. It's very important to be able to understand the value of money. If you want to become successful and scale a business, you cannot be someone who thinks money is a bad thing.
Exactly right.
Right? Like, you have to respect money and you have to understand it as a resource, and an energy that you can exchange with other people. And when you're capable of solving your monetary problems and setting up a secure financial life for yourself, you're also able to provide more to others. You're able to reach higher levels of giving back to the world that you cannot do if you don't have the money to do it, or if you're incapable of reaching that type of financial abundance and security so you can provide to others, if that makes sense. I think those are the four main things that come to my mind at the moment to talk about.
Yeah, I absolutely love them, Rania. And everybody go back and have a listen to that and take some notes down on those. I mean, quite a few of them are areas that I really focus on with a lot of my clients as well, especially with the limiting beliefs. Like the last one really hit home, and, that ties in with the fear and overcoming your fears and stretching yourselves. Like, it's often people think things are worse than they always appear. And it's all about reframing it and putting it into context and helping people realize that, things are never as bad as they seem. You can push yourself. What's the worst that's going to happen out of this situation? And when they come to the realization that, things aren't ever going to be that bad and that you will recover, you'll end up back where you are and have to start again, then they kind of decide to take action. So, I think that's some great advice you shared there.
Yeah. And I want to add one thing, because you mentioned something earlier as well about choosing money over purpose or prioritizing making money as well. I think that slaving your life away for a paycheck is probably the worst thing you can ever do to yourself. You're it's like slow death, but voluntary one. It's like suicide almost, It's true for any job. Doesn't matter what you do, but there are better ways to live life, and again, it's all about finding that purpose, that drive, that passion, that inspiration. So you are making the money, but that's not the real motivation. The real motivation is to be able to achieve a certain level of, again, financial abundance and being able to give back.
Yeah,
it's not just about self-interest. It's also about how do we take this to a level that becomes of service to others as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. I love that. So Rania, I know you're probably a big reader or big in professional development. So what would be one of the best books that you feel has made like a big impact in your life, or something that's really, wowed you or made you just go, wow, that was an incredible book. That's really, shaping my life, or, going to create this change in my life?
That's a really tough question, Paul, because I'm an avid reader and writer myself, and I'm always shuffling through lots of books across all kinds of topics. So I cannot give a fair answer here. Yeah. But there is a particular book that I recently finished, and the reason why I read it, because that was a gift to my employees as well a couple of years ago.
Oh, nice.
But there's actually one particular book that I can recommend for professionals who want to learn more about the importance of execution and how to build blocks for it. It's a #1 New York Times bestseller called Execution: The Discipline of Getting Things Done. It's written by Larry Bossidy, who is the former CEO of the great engineering company Honeywell International.
Oh, wow.
And the other co-author is Ram Charan. Ram Charan also is the author of another great book, now that we're talking about this, that I highly recommend, especially for aspiring entrepreneurs and early stage founders who are new to the world of business. It's called What the CEO Wants You to Know. I can relate to this book so much because, as I shared with you earlier, a little bit about my childhood and my upbringing. It talks about his experience as an entrepreneur coming from India. And it talks about how the best CEOs focus on the basics and they bring the most complex business down to the fundamentals to make money for the company. It's a great book. It provides you with the universal laws of business success, which are basically the same fundamentals, no matter whether you are selling fruit from a stand or running a Fortune 500 company. And I can't relate to this more because from that first day, I was knocking door to door to sell, these accessories and kitchen appliances and stuff like that to people. The same skills and fundamentals that I learned through that process, I applied to my business years later. So
wow.
It's a great book. So again, the first one is Execution, the discipline of getting things done. And the second one is What the CEO Wants You to Know. Both great books. I highly recommend.
Perfect. I'll link both of those in the show notes for everybody to check out. That they sound incredible. I think I'm going to get on board with them as well, Rania.
I think you really enjoy them.
So Rania, I'd love to know, so what really sparks the fire in you? What really gets you motivated and inspired to really push into your day and really tackle the day head on?
Being an entrepreneur and in leadership, many in this position who are driven by a big vision will share with me this irresistible surge and intense desire to succeed. What really lights a fire inside me is that drive with vision. I have a strong willpower to execute. I want to see things done. I'm intensely passionate about reaching my goals, and I have a very genuine desire to succeed with my efforts. I want to see results. I'm also a very hyper-curious, polymathic individual, so I'm very restless when it comes to sizing opportunities and learning and finding new ways to engage with other people and look at the world in different ways as well. Especially being in innovation space, for me, it's very important. Like I mentioned with you earlier, I have to stay ahead of the game in terms of what's out there, what are the new possibilities. So I'm always thinking forward. For me, I also love exploring new ideas and new concepts. I'm very passionate about connecting these ideas with people so we could work together on building something innovative and meaningful and transformative. So, it really excites me, this whole world of collaboration and cooperation and cross-disciplinary type of work. And I get very excited about observing and imagining and analyzing and working through problems and solving them creatively and brainstorming with my teams. And it's just, I'm on fire all day long. How can I say this?
What an amazing place to be, on fire all day.
I can't stop it. I told you about insomnia earlier. Like I'm trying to tame it down.
I always remember hearing from Richard Branson, his biggest thing is putting a side notebook next to his bedside table every night. He leaves it there every night. And whenever he wakes up at 1 or 2 in the morning with a great idea, he just jots it down in his notebook and goes back to sleep. And
that's me.
That's amazing. And as you said, with so many innovative things coming out and so many changes, and how much technology is taking over. Obviously, saying about all the new robotics and automations that are coming out. I think it's an exciting field to be in. I mean, there's nothing more exciting than watching what's going to come out in the world. So
it's so fascinating to be on the edge of tomorrow. Really, like as much as we talk about the importance of being in the present, I think if you just step just a little bit forward, where you're in the present, but you're on the edge of tomorrow, it's such an exciting place to be. And it just gives you this openness to become more visionary and more, you become more open and engaged in the world of imagination and thinking of possibilities rather than being very confined to certain realities and certain already set principles and standards that we know about, and they're kind of in the past. Yeah.
Well, just follow. Leading on from that, about possibilities. So I've got a question I ask all of my guests called the miracle question. It basically goes like this. So imagine if you went to sleep tonight and overnight a miracle had occurred. When you woke up the next morning, everything you ever wanted to impact in the world, or any impact you wanted to make on the world, had come true. There were no financial roadblocks, no mental roadblocks holding you back. What would be that biggest impact you'd want to make on the world, and why would it be so important to you?
Oh, Paul, what a question. I really love this question. Probably what I will say is probably not what you might be expecting as well.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
I am an idealist at heart, seriously. And for me, witnessing so many injustices that are happening every single day, it hurts me very deeply. It's very hard for me to turn a blind eye or feel indifferent about it. And I'm very active in terms of becoming engaged in problem solving and social impact areas. If there is one particular miracle that I could achieve at the click of my fingers overnight, I would want to achieve a peaceful world where there is absolutely no violence, where there is true equality and justice and unconditional love and respect amongst people, where women and girls are not being raped every day and children are not being abandoned and humans are not being sold and lands are not being stolen and countries are not being destroyed, and refugees are not being dispersed in camps, where people are simply not killing each other because of differences in race and religions and beliefs. That's really the miracle I've been dreaming about since I was a child, because I lived a certain reality that was full of conflicts and war, and I know exactly what that's like. And I've been longing for a world that doesn't exist, which is that world of peace and harmony, where people are they find a way to cooperate rather than seek to dominate and eliminate each other. I think that respect should not be a privilege, and love should not be a condition. Those should be practices of morality that we practice every single day towards ourselves and towards the people around us. I think that, unfortunately, we still live in a world that's being shaped and reshaped by acts of violence and wars and brutality and aggression, and where the abuse of power and degenerate type of behaviors and the corruption is behind all of it. And it's unfortunate to see that after centuries of human evolution, where we moved out of the jungle and we built layers and layers of artificial ecosystems and advanced technologies, but the jungle is still inside of us. Yeah. We have achieved so much, but we haven't evolved into peace and harmony.
No, definitely not.
So that would be a miracle, wouldn't it?
Oh, definitely. Wow, that's really moved me, that answer. That was amazing, Rania, and it's so true. I love that you've put it that way and said that we may have moved out the jungle, but haven't evolved into that being that harmonious people that love each other, respect each other, and appreciate everyone in the world and respect them. So, wow, yeah, you've blown me away. That was amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just the right thing to do. It's the humane thing to do. We all deserve to live with dignity and respect, and to have equal access to education and work opportunities and a decent life where the minimum starts nowhere below where all the basic human needs are being met. And the minimum acceptable behavior is compassion and respect to each other's humanity.
Definitely. Wow. Thank you so much for that answer. That was amazing. And I absolutely love that. That's why I love asking this question. It's incredible to hear the answers people give. I mean, just on the interview before you last week was Patrick Bet David. And, he'd come from an environment from Iran where there was, war-torn Iran being bombed so many times a day. And his response was, his impact he wanted to make was to give people back their lands that have been taken off of them, and, to help provide them with a stable life again. So, yeah, I think that's amazing. What a response.
It's incredible what people witness and their lives coming from different backgrounds and experiences. And it really puts you in a place of humility, and it puts life into a different kind of perspective where you see what priorities really are, what's very important to us. Is it more important to have this next amazing luxurious car, or is it more important to be able to provide someone with a shelter and a home so they're off the street, or to be able to provide basic human needs for people who don't have them? Can we move out of just being so self-centered and self-interested individuals into becoming more connected and more engaged with the world, when we can become someone who's adding value, not only extracting value?
Definitely. Wow. Thank you so much, Rania. And Rania, we're just getting ready to wrap up soon. It's been an absolute pleasure to interview you. And I've loved talking to you and the amazing advice and things you've achieved for yourself. You should be really proud of yourself for what you've done. And, I've loved sharing your journey on this episode.
Thank you so much, Paul. I really enjoyed this conversation with you and your inquisitive, beautiful questions. I hope that through this conversation, we were able to deliver valuable insights that can inspire and motivate our listeners and viewers. They're not going to see my face, but I'm sorry. I gotta apologize for everyone who's listening that, a tech CEO has a broken camera on her laptop. So I'm ashamed.
Oh, that's all right. I'll
yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show. It was my absolute pleasure.
Oh, thank you, Rania. And just before we wrap up, if somebody wanted to reach out to you or to find out more about the incredible work that you do, where would be the best place to get in contact with you?
I think that the best place for people to learn more about me and to contact me is through my website at raniahoteit.com. If anyone is interested in a collaboration, you can submit a detailed contact request via my website on the contact page as well. Also, I invite everyone to follow my social media pages to keep updated on my future announcements and publishings and activities around the world. All the links to my social pages can be found on my website. And Paul, I believe you'll be able to share them as well. Correct?
Definitely. I'll definitely share out everything. Rania, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Paul. It was a pleasure speaking with you today.
And guys, stay tuned next week. We've got another incredible guest who's going to help you break through the next level in your career. So stay tuned then.